Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe. Today we are learning about function notation. Let's get started. When writing an equation in function notation, y is a function of x, so you rename y as f of x. So as an example here, we have this equation, and we want to convert this equation to function notation. And so we said that you rename y as f of x. And so the y value is over here, and so we are going to rename this y value f of x. So f of x is equal to 7x plus 2. And a really big point to remember here when you're doing this is when you are writing the new equation in function notation, these two values would have to be the same. The variables would have to be the same. So I'm going to show you guys another example. And in this example, we have this equation right here. And so our equation says y is equal to 6m minus 9. And so we're going to rewrite this equation in function notation, but you have to be careful. We see that the variable in this equation is y and m is there instead of x. And so when we write our new equation in function notation, our function notation equation will not have the variable x in it. It will instead have the variable m. And so when we write this, we're going to write f of m is equal to 6m minus 9. So it's very important that these two variables right here always match with each other. To solve an equation that is in function notation, you have to replace the x value with the given number. So if we have this example over here, it says f of x is equal to 7x plus 2, and it wants us to find f of 6. And so the way we would do this is we would take the x value over here, and we would plug it in everywhere that we see x on the equation it wants us to solve for, which is the equation above. And so we would see f of 6 is equal to 7, and then we're going to replace the x with 6. So 7 times 6 plus 2. And then to find the value of f of 6, we would just solve as we would normally do. And so let's say we have f of 6 is equal to 7 times 6, which is 42, plus 2. And so f of 6, is equal to 42 plus 2, which is 44. And so our final answer over here would be f of 6 is equal to 44. To solve for a graphed equation in function notation, you would draw a vertical line to where the given x value is. The point where the line meets the function is the function value. And so we have this graph over here and this question that says find f of negative 2. And so this right here that is graphed, that is our function, that is f of x. And so they want us to find f of negative 2. And so we're going to draw a vertical line where the x value is given. So f of negative 2 is the same thing as x is equal to negative 2. So when x is equal to negative 2, what is f of x equal to? We said f of x is the same thing as y. And so we're going to draw a line over here to find the y value of f of negative 2. And now that we drew the line, we can see that the vertical line and the function meet this point right here, which is negative 2, 1. And so we knew that our x value was negative 2. We were trying to find the x value for negative 2. And Now we have, since we found the x value of -2, we look over at the y value that it gave us, and that is 1. So we can conclude that f of -2 is equal to 1. Now let's go do some practice problems. Our first problem says fill out the table. And so we're going to fill this one out for x first. So x is the input, it is the independent value, and it is the domain of a function. Y, or f of x, is the output of a value, it is the dependent variable, and it is the range of a function. Problem number 2 says, evaluate the following written notation formats. And so it wants us to find the values of each of these. And so let's start with this one. It says, f of x is equal to 5x minus 2 when x is equal to 6. And so we said that we would plug in the x value, which is 6, anywhere that we see x on the above function. And so f of 6 is equal to 5 times 6 in place of the x minus 2. And so we're just going to solve for this. F of 6 is equal to 5 times 6, which is 30, minus 2, which would give us that f of 6 is equal to 28. And so that would be the answer for our first problem. Our second one says g of x is equal to 7x. And you can see in this one, it doesn't say f of x, it says g of x. It doesn't really matter because f of x is just the name of the function, and so g of x is also just the name of the function. And so it says g of x is equal to 7x, and it wants us to solve for g of x minus 3. And so this is a little trickier, but you take the x minus 3, the entire thing of x minus 3, and you plug it in wherever you see x. And so a basis for this is that whenever you want to solve for a function, everything inside the parentheses of that function that it's telling you to solve for, like in this case g of x minus 3, would go into the original equation. And so I'm going to show you this over here. We're going to take g of x minus 3, which goes in place of the x, is equal to 7, and then it says x, but we are going to plug in x minus 3. And so now we're just going to solve for this. So g of x minus 3 is going to be equal to 7. And so we're going to distribute this 7 times x, and then 7 times -3 is -21. So 7x minus 21. And so this would be our answer. Last one over here says f of x is equal to 2x minus 8. Solve for 3f of 9. And so first what we're going to do to solve this is we're going to take the f of 9 and we're going to solve for it like it was normal, like there wasn't a number in front of it. So we're going to plug in 9 for all of the x's that we see in the above equation. So f of 9 is equal to 2 times 9 minus 8. And so that would be equal to 2 times 9 is 18 minus 8, which would be equal to 10. And so now we have what f of 9 would be equal to, but we had the 3 in front of the f of 9. And so what we're going to do is that we're going to take this and we're going to multiply the value of f of 9 by 3. And so 3 times f of 9, which is 10, is equal to 30. And so our answer for this equation would be 3f of 9 is equal to 30. And that would be our answer. Problem number 3 says evaluate the following graph notations. And so we're going to assume that each of these questions correspond with the graph that is given above. And so the first part says find f of -2. And so what we're going to have to do is we're going to draw the vertical line at the given point and find the value of f of -2, g of 5, and f of -4 for each of the graphs. And so for our first one, it says find f of -2, and we said this would be the same thing as x equals -2. And so we're going to draw our line at x is equal to -2, and you can see where they are both meeting the vertical line and the function, and it is at -4. And so we can conclude over here that when f of -2 is there, it is equal to -4, because that is the corresponding value right here. And so that would be our answer for the first one. Our next one says find g of 5. And so we're going to draw the line at x equals 5. As you can see, I drew the line, but the vertical line does not intercept our function at any place, and so we can't determine an actual value for our function. And so what we would call this, when the line does not intercept the graph at any point, we would call this an empty set. Empty set. Or you could draw this. The symbol for an empty set is just a circle with a slash through it. Our next means that you have to draw the line at x is equal to -4. And so our line over here, we can see that it intercepts the graph right here at this point, which the corresponding y value to that point right there is -4. And so f of -4 is equal to -4. And so that would be the answer for this one. I hope you understood everything that was said in the video. Please like and subscribe and comment any questions you may have regarding Algebra 1 or on this topic. Thank you for watching. Bye!